Hi there, I am Didi Garcia Blaze with the Tequila Onda radio show program. I am your host, and you are listening to my radio show program right here on Frecuencia Alterna. Osvaldo Franco is the producer and the director, and I'm proud to announce my new guest. My new guest is Eric Cristo Martinez, who is an artist out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Eric, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you doing?
Didi?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm just going to announce a quick bio. I'm going to introduce you with the bio that you gave me so that my fans and friends can know and understand who I'm talking to. Essentially, Eric Cristo Martinez resides in Albuquerque, New Mexico currently, where he works and loves to create art. He is a proud owner of the iconic 47 studio and gallery situated in the heart of downtown. More than a working studio, Cristo has created a gallery and platform for local artists through the 47 series, an art collective to unite New Mexico artists, putting in perspective the many talents of the 47th state. He also founded the Unite and Conquer art movement, which not only showcases the many outside talents he brings to Albuquerque and connects with on the road, but works to tear down the many barriers that divide people, uniting communities, genres, and creatives through a common denominator of art. His story started like many youth growing up in the crack era of the 90s. In 2002, he became a statistics of the war on drugs when he found himself in the harsh reality of mandatory minimums. At 22 years of age, he was sentenced to 120 months for selling a key of cocaine while packing 2 firearms. Choosing to make the best of his harsh reality, choosing to make the best of his situation and realizing his entrepreneurial spirit, he began studying business and dabbling in art to send gifts home to his kids and family, trying to keep connections strong with his loved ones. He began digging deep within and discovered gifts he hadn't known and that he did have. His true potential and creativity began when he painted a future with an optimistic stroke and began his journey as a professional artist from behind the walls. Can you tell us a little bit more? Can you expound on your bio? I don't want to read your bio.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us more and finish so that the audience can get a better understanding?
Well, I discovered gifts in art, and it just kind of unraveled, and I decided to focus on them and build a career around them upon my release of getting out of prison. So in prison, I created a series called the Conviction Series, which documented that journey, but not just documented the convictions that took me to prison, but the conviction that you can turn that negative into a positive. So I created this series with that underlining message and documenting that journey in a fine art fashion that would be something that museums and the art world could understand and digest in a glimpse into that world, but doing it in a different fashion and creative spin, and just exploring as an artist the journey that we all take as far as seeing where the journey takes us, going down those roads and those forks in the roads where we chase our dreams, and that's what I've been doing since I got out of prison. I had my first group show. I joined a group show when I first got out at the 5G Gallery here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and put 2 pieces in, and one of them was not for sale. It was a piece that was very personal to me, but I thought it would be a good piece to share with my first show, just to really explain where this art was coming from. and a collector by the name of Peter Eller noticed the piece and felt very strongly about persuading the gallery owner to get in touch with me, and that he would be interested in the piece of artwork and buying it, not for his own collection, but to donate to the museum. And in short, it got accepted by the acquisition committee, and it now is part of the permanent collection in the Albuquerque Museum. And kind of began and started off my art career here in Albuquerque, and my different directions of art that I pursue. I'm a tattoo artist as well as a fine art painter, and I dabble in a lot of different mediums. And early on decided I needed a studio to be able to create these, one place where I can create these different mediums. So it's kind of how Icon Inc. Was born, was out of a need for a studio and a place to showcase my art and to a platform, because I had some great successes early on getting my artwork out, but I quickly realized that there was a much needed void. There's a void and much needed need for a platform for Chicano art and arts like prison art and all these different mediums that aren't necessarily recognized by big institutions like art museums and what have you. And I think this example of a piece of art that was created in prison, and it taking a journey outside of the walls and going and hanging next to historical artwork. I think beyond just being very proud of that moment in my career, I got to really take my hat off to not just Peter Eller, who felt the need to and the idea to present that to the museum, but Andrew Connors, who then was the curator of the Albuquerque Museum, who now is the director, who saw it in that light as well. And it's kind of unheard of sometimes with institutions like that. We're not always, the doors aren't always open to us, and we got to find ways to break those doors open. And, with, I believe the Conviction series has the power to do that. And that's kind of what I envision with the series as well, is establishing a show for like individuals that have done amazing things with the art and that would travel not just through the museums but inside the institutions where all are, and everyone can see that and be inspired by that and see the potential of what can be created from in a cell.
Now, the reason why you caught my attention recently was because tell us a little bit about the work that you've done with Jimmy, who has a new DVD out called A Place to Stand. And if I'm not mistaken, you've got about an 8.5-minute video of your own documentary following Jimmy's brand new DVD. And in a little bit, Osvaldo will be playing a little bit of the video. He downloaded that video, and so we're going to show a piece of that to the audience here shortly. But how did that come about? Tell us, first of all, the kind of work that you've done with Jimmy, who is huge into the prison ministry, if you will.
Well, he was the first one that I knew of and heard of that that did it, that made it possible. I read his story early on when I was in prison, and it was inspiring. It was very inspiring for me, not just realizing that, all his amazing work, like Blood In, Blood Out, and all the countless books he's put out, but just really hearing his story, and him being from Albuquerque, Mexico as well, born in Santa Fe. And just hearing his story, that, here's this guy who just, had everything against him early on, orphaned early, grew up on the streets, just, finding his, a way in life, of survival, and finding, trying to, find a place in this world, and going into prison as a literate convict, and teaching himself not just to read and write, but he fell in love with words, and unraveled that gift, that I'm talking about. And, many of us have gifts in, many different forms and fashions. So it's just finding what those are and nurturing them, and going after them and putting them into action. And he was a perfect example of someone who did that, who had done that. And he, he was being published in, major poetry magazines before he was released. And he had, all these major writers writing letters, trying to get him out. And he, he's done a lot with not just his writing, but for the gente. He's done so much work just to, create not just books that we can relate to and stories that we understand, but contextualize them as well, and institutionalize them into classrooms where he travels all over the country, to different universities, and amazing work this guy does, in just working to get that literature in classrooms with teachers, and getting teachers, to I went to a workshop at Ghost Ranch, not this last year. This was the second one. And it's a writing workshop Jimmy does, and there's actually probably we're talking about a big one coming up this year, and I can keep you posted with that when I get a bit more details.
Yeah, tag me on that writing workshop.
But he gets educators and people that deal with underprivileged youth, and deals with all these different people, and brings them together. And gives them tools to take back with them into their work, which is, those are ways we can make a difference, is like, getting those books that are accessible to individuals inside, like that's something that they can get their hands on, and that they can relate to, and that's real. And I know stories like his were real, and that's why I know the importance of stories, and whether it's film and documentaries, stuff like that, Jimmy is heavily involved with. And I know he's working on new projects. He's always constantly working on new stuff. So we're all, kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen next. But we got so many different amazing projects in the fire that I'm really excited about where we're headed the next several years. So definitely want to stay tuned on that. As far as a place to stand and how I got involved with that, we had a mutual friend who was having an art opening. They made the connection as far as similar stories of both of us coming from prison, and doing something with our art and our craft. And so they knew the director, Daniel Glick, who was in town working on a place to stand at the time, and this was shortly after getting out, back in 2013, I believe. And he, they were working on a place to stand, and and I was introduced and told him who I was, and he told me who he was and what he was working on, and he called me a couple days later and asked if I was interested in he was interested in doing a short documentary on me, and he thought it would be a great, pairing with a place to stand, or at very least, it would be exercise for him in working on this project, and I could use it for promoting my stuff and whatnot. And then we filmed it, and we just barely released it recently.
Okay.
At this viewing here in Albuquerque of A Place to Stand. We had a viewing to promote. It's on PBS right now, airing nationally, so everyone can see it. Check the listings for your area. But A Place to Stand is airing on PBS.
Okay. So A Place to Stand is currently airing on PBS nationally then?
Yes.
Jimmy Baca's film.
The director decided to release the short, which is also on the featurettes on the Place to Stand DVD. So if you get the Place to Stand DVD, you can see my doc on there as well. But I also did some artwork for Place to Stand. Daniel had asked, they had asked me to do some series of 9 drawings that animate a poem that he's reading in the film, titled "Standing in Front of a Brute." So I created 9 sketches that were used in the film, and then I also did some work for the cover and stuff like that. But yeah, we got different projects we're working on, and me and Jimmy, a pretty close contact. He always gives me a call and gets me involved in different stuff, and it's an honor to work with Jimmy because, like I said, he was a big inspiration for me early on, and and many Chicanos growing up, because many of us grew up on Blood and Blood Out, and it gave us something to relate to again. Those films and media are so important to our culture, and sharing our culture and preserving it.
Let's go off subject for a little bit. My director and producer Osvaldo is going to be airing the video shortly, but let's talk about something a little bit off the subject. You're a tattoo artist. What's the longest tattoo that you've worked on? How many hours?
The longest session?
Yeah, the longest session.
Well, that would be on my brother Mario. He was getting ready to move to Cali, and we were going to do a piece on his chest. So we did a Jesus piece on his chest, and it was like a 13-hour session because we wanted to get it done before he left town. So yeah, it was a pretty long session. I usually don't tattoo that long, but
was it the one with the cross? There's a cross as well, or is that yours?
No, it's just a portrait, a detailed portrait.
Oh.
Basically covering the whole chest going onto the stomach.
13 hours? How did you do that? Don't you get tired? I mean, did you take a break?
Yeah, I mean, several breaks. Definitely got to get up and stretch out. And I'm wondering how he went 13 hours, because it's tough on me. For the client sitting, I mean, 13 hours, you're getting pretty, your endorphins are done, and you're like tender by then, raw and tender. So it was a rough session for both of us for sure.
Um, did he drink tequila before you started that 13-hour session? Because I'd like to know how a person can withstand that kind of pain.
No, if I can't recall if we had a shot or two in between though. That might have got us through. I can't quite recall.
I was going to say, how come, okay, I've looked at your pictures, I've looked at your documentaries, and I'm going to go a little bit personal with you.
Okay.
Why is it that you seem sad? Like I don't see a smile hardly. Why? Do you want to talk
Oh,
about that? I mean,
I don't. I guess I just it. Maybe it's prison. Maybe I am still somewhat. I when you live for a long period of time where you just, you smile, of course, but like you're in an environment where there's not, that's why art was so huge for me because it was just, a canvas of emotion, and I don't know. I guess it's just going back to that, that Pinto culture. It's just kind of ingrained after a while, I guess. It's funny because like even taking pictures, like people always tell me like, it's just you can't help but to just the mugshot just automatically comes on. You just like I don't know what it is.
there's a mug shot. You have a mug. You think it's a mug shot. I don't know. I think
Either the mugshot or it's I don't know. Chicanos like to keep their chin high. I guess we don't we don't like to look down. I guess I don't know what it is, but
how many kids do you have? I know in your bio that I read you painted to give something to your children from within the walls. How many kids do you have?
Well, I have 3 kids and 3 stepkids. So yeah, we're and let's see, 1, 2, one just went off to college. So yeah, we got a pretty full house. We got about 4 kids in the house right now. But my oldest is 21. When I went to prison, I had a son and a daughter, and yeah, so they're older now. I came out, and trying to reconnect with those relationships and being present. And I have a 3-year-old, so he definitely keeps me young, and it's a lot of fun for sure.
What gives you true joy? Where can a person like me who, I interview a lot of guests and studied a lot of people, their mannerisms, everything, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they position themselves, the way they carry themselves. What gives you joy, and what are you doing to find it? What aspirations do you have in life to give you to that point of happiness?
That's a tough question because sometimes I feel like sacrificing much time and joy to create something that will last beyond me, and that will, if it could be that book that like Jimmy's book was for me, that showed me it's possible, or if it be just even a glimpse of finding a place to stand. I mean, what better term, you know, we're all looking for a place to stand in this world, and um, and you know, just feeling comfortable in where, um, not just, I guess, the ultimate destination, but the process. So as an artist, you got to really enjoy the process as well. Um, you know, because uh, you know, you got to really enjoy what you do. You know, so. Um, but you know, living the dream and pursuing your passions isn't always easy. Um, you know, it's a lot of hard work. So, but when you feel um, like it was worth it at the end of the day, and that um, you know, the goals you're working towards is justifiable for your time, then I mean, you got to know you're on the right track. You know, so you know, sometimes I I get you know, real deep and stuff like that, and I'm like, am I on the right track? And am I, you know, and sometimes, you know, they're just little hints along the way that either you are or you aren't, and you just, you know, you just go down the forks in the road and just, you know, uh, you know, keep working at it.
We've got
And
we've got 5 more minutes, and I want to talk about Chimayo, one of my favorite places to go to when I'm in New Mexico. And have you done any art with regard to Chimayo? Have you been there? Have you gone and?
yeah, you know, I've been there many times. It's, you know, it's a very sacred place for, especially, you know, from the locals to everyone that
Absolutely.
encounters.
Totally.
You know, it's just it's a beautiful spiritual place, and and you know, much. I just have a great love um, for this area in New Mexico and the Southwest, and you know, Aslan. You know,
Yeah.
this is our tierra, and this is what we love. So, you know, we're it just, you know, it's a very spiritual place, and a lot of people go up there to just um, you know, to get grounded again and really um, uh, get renewed. Sometimes
Absolutely.
yeah.
Now, on your piece at the end of A Place to Stand, Jimmy Baca's new DVD film that is currently out on PBS nationally, but also too, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can watch Jimmy Baca's A Place to Stand right now from your computer or television set. But one of the things that caught my attention, or my ear, it caught my ear, was the musician who played. Why did you pick him? Because it was his guitar that really just grabbed my attention. It was so beautiful. What's his name? And tell us why you chose that musician to be included.
Well, when Daniel said he wanted to work on a doc, and he said we needed some music, and we needed, you know, something that we can get, we can get signed off for and whatnot. And I was trying to think of, well, it pretty much just hit me right away. Like, I was very connected to that song, and when I first heard Cultura Fuerte, you know, their sound was like something that I could just relate to. Again, I just always use that term because it's like when something touches you and grabs you, it's like, you know, it just grabs a hold of you. And as far as Cultura Fuerte, I mean, it was just like almost like a theme song, especially that that particular song. It was just, you know, I just felt the music, and I was really impressed on how Daniel used it. You know, it really gave the documentary some rhythm in transitions and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see how he pieced that together. So yeah, Cultura Fuerte and my man Speed One, John Dominic Chavez. You can find him on Facebook, John Dominic Chavez. He's a old school hip hop head, graffiti head here in Burke, and he, you know, he's very talented artist. He's yeah, but him and they formed a whole group called Cultura Fuerte, which is no longer together anymore. We've been trying to. I give them career all the time to try to get the band back together because you know everyone loves them here. You know, all the locals.
So if Cultura Fuerte band members are watching this program, you've got 2 votes. I'm the second vote. Please put your band together because I heard your music through Eric, my man from New Mexico, my amigo. And final words. Do you have any final words? And after your final words, whatever you want to say that's in your heart, if you could just tell my audience how to get a hold of you, how to reach your tattoo place.
Well, my Conviction doc can be seen on the Places Stand DVD. I guess it's on Vimeo, and the Conviction doc, I believe, is what it's called, or it's called From Prison Halls to Museum Walls. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Eric Cristo Art, or Eric Cristo Martinez, and Iconic 47 Studio and Gallery is our studio and gallery downtown here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if you're in town, please come check it out. A lot of amazing art, and we will be rotating shows this next year with a lot of amazing talent. So if you're in town, check it out.
And what's your email?
And my email is Eric Cristo Art. So that's ERICCHRISTOART, or iconic47@gmail.com. And yeah, and thank you, Didi. I appreciate you having me on the show.
You're welcome.
I seen you in what was it, the Blood and Blood Out reunion in LA.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Briefly. And,
Adan.
Yeah, so that was a really cool event. I was got to meet a lot of the cast members.
Wasn't it inspiring? I got to meet Freddie Negrete, like the legendary tattoo. Oh my God, he was so humble. He was such a good guy.
Yeah, Freddie's an awesome guy. He did all the tattoos on Blood and Blood Out as well, all the fake tattoos.
And a lot of other movies.
So, and he's a pioneer in the tattoo industry. I mean, this guy's, he's definitely one of the godfathers of black and gray. So
absolutely, with also another great book, inspiring book. And that's why I wanted to have you on my show, because of your message of hope and what you're doing with inspiring people who are behind walls, who do get caught up in the system, you know, a way out. You're essentially showing them other ways to get out of that culture. And I appreciate you for that. And that's why I have you on the show, because you're an inspiration as well. So thank you again, and I hope to have you on the show again if you have another cool project that you're working on. I think it's totally kick-ass that your documentary is aired on Jimmy Baca's A Place to Stand DVD. So thank you again for being a guest on my show.
Awesome, Dee. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the staff. It's an honor to do what I do. I'm blessed to be able to to share art and our culture with the world. So I feel very honored and blessed to do what I do.
Okay, keep me posted on the writers workshop. And with that, Osvaldo, the director producer of this show, says hello and says goodbye. And to my audience, thank you for watching the Tequila Onda show. I'm your host. Thanks. See you next Monday.